Let the champagne splash. Let that man get cash. Let that man get pass. He don't even stop to get gas. But if he can move through the rumors, he can drive off of fumes. Let's go. Welcome back to House Rich, the first time homebuyer show where we help millennials figure out where do I get started in real estate and how to build generational wealth. Today's topic, it's a celebration. The 6-year anniversary of my wife and I owning this very primary residence. Let the champagne splash. And so a lot of times folks talk about, hey, I own this property and I was making this much per door and all this rental, blah, blah, blah. And folks really break down like the pros and cons and the finances behind owning your primary residence. So I'm going to break that down and show you how it can apply to your situation, because our situation isn't super unique. We had one thing that was really, really super unique as far as the area around us. But yeah, going to break that down. And so let's jump into the topic. Oh, the intro was sponsored by Chicago-based philosopher Kanye Omari West. Now let's get into the topic. All right, so my wife and I actually almost didn't even get to purchase this home we're living in right now. We actually got our loan declined when we went through the process the first time. And so, going to jump back, my wife and I have been looking for a property for like 3 or 4 months at the point. And I'd actually just started the mortgage business. Like I literally just became a loan officer like right before we started looking. I just returned from training in the Chicago area, and we're back here in Dallas looking for a property for both of us to live in, and we were engaged at the time. And so finally, like 3 or 4 months in, we found a property we both like. It was the first time we ever found a property we both like, and more importantly, we found 2 we like in this very neighborhood here. The one we're in right now, she liked better. The one we didn't select, I like better. And in hindsight, it was a great decision to go with her vision for this property, because it's kind of like how I tell you guys now, when you're picking a new construction property, you have to be cognizant of like what's actually going on around the property. So the property I liked, it backed up against this big green wooded area, right? But the big green wooded area was commercial space, and it was like 5-6 acres of space. And so, duh, as I kind of say now in hindsight, the developer was not going to just let that property sit there just for our views, so we can sit on the back porch or look at flowers and trees and all that. They eventually knocked it down. They're building apartments over there, and they're building commerce. They're building commerce and all this other stuff, grocery stores and restaurants. And so, yeah. And so, luckily, we went with her intuition and purchased this home, which actually backs up to another house, but in front of us is a huge green belt, which, once again, green belt, they don't build on green space. They can knock down and do whatever they want to do. But back to the story. And so, we got under contract, and so we found this property. It was listed at like in the high 300,000s, and so it was like a Saturday. We looked at it, didn't want to jump into anything too quick, even though we really liked it. And so we went home, but on Monday I got a call from the builder, and they dropped the price $30,000. I wanted to see if we wanted to move forward. I'm like, honestly, we're going to move forward at the higher price, so definitely $30,000 less. We're going to pull the trick on that, and so. Like, we casually been looking myself, but I actually ended up calling my realtor just to tell him what was going on and to loop him in on the process. And so he was in the mix as far as getting his commission and all that. Even though honestly he didn't help us find the house. But he actually helped me sell my property that I owned in Dallas, which honestly, in hindsight, I shouldn't have sold. I owned that property for 9 months. And I did make $90,000 or maybe $70,000 after all the fees out of the transaction. But that's a whole other story for another day maybe. And so, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward, I just started the mortgage process, and I didn't understand how income worked, right? But my lender should have understood how income worked, because they were the company I worked for. And so, I just started the mortgage business. I had a 1-year contract. And so it was a 1-year contract where you're going to make a $50,000 salary plus any commission. And so it was a $50,000 contract to give you time to build a client base and get your feet under you. And then after that, you just go 100% commission. And so one thing about income is your lender assumes it will go in perpetuity if you have a base salary, unless there's something on paper saying that, hey, it'll end after the 1-year time frame, which was the case with this scenario. But I was new and I didn't know that. But once again, my lender, who was my So my loan officer was actually my manager. They had my manager do the loan for some reason instead of just another person at the company. And he was like, oh, I can get a waiver on that. He never got the waiver. I had calculated like the DTI in my head. I knew my credit was fine. And I knew the funds for the down payment were good. So I was like, okay, we're good to go on this. And so like 2 weeks before closing, they were finally like, oh yeah. He was like, oh yeah, that waiver you asked about, I never got that approved. And so I was like, oh crap. And so luckily, I'd been working with the realtor during this time frame because it might have been hung out to dry. This was 2016 time frame, so I got my realtor, told him what was what, had him talk to the builder. My realtor looped me in with his preferred lender. They got us a pre-qual done in that same day, so we had something to go to the builder with, and it wasn't just me being like, we're kind of screwed up. And so, long story short, that lender was able to close us in like 17 days, I want to say, and we're able to move into this property. So now let's get into the pros. A lot of pros and very small cons as far as 6 years of home ownership. So let's talk about what the home was worth then and what the home was worth now. And so we purchased the home in the low 300,000s. And so maybe like a month ago, a home on our block was for sale for $545,000. I think our home was a little bit better. Everyone thinks our home was a little bit better, but our home was a 2-story. It was a little bit bigger, and the floor plan was a little bit better as well, in my opinion. But that was for sale for $545,000. I'm not sure what it sold for. I know it sold, but let's say it sold for $500,000. Like we're still doing pretty good, based on purchasing the home 6 years ago in the low 300,000. So let's talk about our mortgage payment or our living expense. So I wrote this down. When we first closed on the home, our mortgage was $2,504 for the first year. The second year, the mortgage payment jumped up to a little bit over $3,000. And so, can you guess why? And so the reason was we had been charged the improved taxes or the unimproved taxes on the property, meaning that the dirt lot taxes. So what happens with taxes? The taxes are based on the value of the land on January 1st of the previous year. And so January 1st of the previous year, it was just a dirt lot. And so instead of being like a $300,000 home, it was a dirt lot, which may have been valued at like, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000. So those taxes were super low. And that, for whatever reason, is what our lender used to calculate our escrow payment. And so we had a huge escrow shortage at the end of the year. And so the things to take away from this is make sure that you are aware of, with new construction, if you're being charged basically the improved or unapproved taxes, or basically dirt lot taxes, or the actual projected taxes on that property. So like our escrow shortage was $6,000 in that scenario. So that's why our mortgage payment jumped up like $500 from one year to the next. But right now our mortgage payment is like just a little bit over $2,600. And so a very small increase. I didn't do the math, but I think that's almost less than 1%, like 0.5% is what our mortgage increased during that in the last 6 years. So thank you for listening to the show. If you want to connect with other listeners and also dive deeper into topics, as well as attend live trainings every Tuesday at 8 p.m., click the link down below and join the First Time Homebuyer School. See you inside. So I did the math. It was a 4% increase in my mortgage payment over the course of 6 years. And so let's stack that up against rent, right? Because that's the natural thing to compare it to. And so chances are, wherever you're at, rents, I assume, have gone up more than 4% in the last 6 years. I saw an article where rents went up like 40% like last year in Miami. And so I think like 10 years ago, there actually probably weren't any apartments within like 10 minutes of my house. Now in the closest apartment to my house, I did the whole fake, let me get an application thing to see what rent would cost. And it's more than what my mortgage is. And so, and for like 800 square feet less for a 3-bedroom apartment. So another huge win with buying a home is locking in your living expense. So let's say my mortgage is $2,000 and it's going to cost $2,500 to rent that apartment. You're essentially paying yourself $500 a month, or keeping $500 a month in your pocket by owning instead of renting. Not to mention the equity that you're building as well by owning the property. So one of the many wins of owning versus renting is locking in your living expense. All right, back to the episode. Another thing as well, and how do we keep the mortgage payment so low? One is I dispute the taxes every single year, no matter what the county says your home is assessed at. I just knock it down like $30,000-$40,000 and say, hey, I think our home's worth $30,000-$40,000 less. And sometimes they agree. They've gone down to that number. Sometimes they'll be like, hey, we'll meet you halfway. And also, I'm a disabled veteran as well, and so I was able to get that disabled veteran exemption as well, which reduces your taxes a little bit. I'm not like super disabled, for lack of a better term. And so, yeah, always make sure if you're in a place where your taxes are assessed every single year, make sure you dispute your taxes. What's the worst that could happen? It's not like they're going to raise your taxes if you dispute it. Worst case scenarios, they'll just be where they said they were going to be. And so, like I said, I just do a thing where I just reduce it, but like I think like 3 to 4%. I think is what typically they won't argue. You can hire somebody to do the disputing for you, but to me, you're hiring somebody, you might as well just dispute them yourself, because what are you really saving? Whatever you pay somebody, and that's probably not going to save you that much as far as whatever they reduce your taxes. What if they don't even do anything? And so another thing to point out too is we are in a mud district. It's basically I forget what MUD stands for, but essentially we're in a special tax municipal utilities district possibly, but basically there's a special tax for area because it was a super new area, and so they need to do a special tax in order to charge us for like certain utilities that weren't set up yet. So that's something to note as well when you're moving into a new neighborhood. Is there any sort of special tax that other surrounding areas are not paying? And so I do want to jump back again to when I talk about the value of the property. So let's say there's $300,000 is what we purchased the home for, and let's say $500,000 is what our home is worth. If everything crashes down, like worst case scenario, we could throw the house on the market for like $450,000, which is well under the $500,000, and still have six figures in our pocket. Like if we lose our jobs, one of us gets sick, or both of us get sick, and somehow we cannot generate any income. Worst case scenario, we can sell this property for a six-figure gain, right? And so you can't obviously do that in an apartment. If you're down bad in an apartment, you're just down bad. The rent you paid is not a waste of money, but you don't get to pocket it anywhere in the form of equity. Another reason why your primary asset or primary home is an asset, right? And so let's talk about what's been going on around the property. That's important as well. So one thing I look at when moving into a new neighborhood is like the neighborhood itself and also the surrounding area. So when we moved to this neighborhood, there was, I think the closest grocery store was like 25 minutes. Same thing with restaurants, movies. And the restaurant movies aren't in the same area, but they're like 25 minutes away all around us. And so we were like house number 22 in the neighborhood of I think it's going to be eventually a couple thousand houses. I think right now there's maybe 1,000 houses in the community. But we were literally house number 22 in the neighborhood. And so what has happened since, right? Because hopefully you're and so my wife and I have been doing like our research to see like what was coming as well, because we weren't just going to buy someplace like in the boonies just to buy if nothing was coming. It was like, oh, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming to this area. Like we did research. Jerry Jones, he's the owner of the Cowboys. If you're not familiar with him, he's a billionaire here in Dallas who has like a lot of sway because he owns the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are kind of suck. Somehow they're still popular. But yeah, he owns a property down here. He was building a development. They were widening the roads. Like it's a super small road. There was a lot of construction being done, so the traffic was horrendous. Like, and it still is kind of horrendous, but they're widening the road now, like 4 years later, and it's actually going to take maybe another 2 years to widen it, build some overpasses to alleviate traffic. But since then, there's a Starbucks that actually just opened up a week ago in front of our house. So that's going to be a money pit for my wife and all her drinks. But that's cool. There's another grocery store that's like 10 minutes from us now, and hopefully they'll eventually build a grocery store in front of our neighborhood. And they're building other restaurants in front of our neighborhood as well, so we have places to go. Movie theaters within like 10 minutes, and there's some other stuff very close to us as well. And the big thing is the PGA of America. Like they literally moved their headquarters like 10 minutes from our house. So excuse me, there's going to be like I guess you don't really care about all the ins and outs of what's going on in my neighborhood, but there's going to be a lot going on. There's a world-class golf course. Sorry, excuse me. There's going to be a world-class golf course and a bunch of stuff that it comes with that, majors in the area. And so yeah, so lot of dope stuff going on in the area. That PGA thing was totally unexpected as far as it happening. But like I said, it was a big open area. Just think Texas, just farms and all this stuff. And so we knew stuff was coming. And so the PGA was like, hey, stuff's coming too. It looks pretty cool. And so we're gonna plop our headquarters and open up, 232 hole golf courses in this area as well. And so let's talk about money and expenses and stuff that we've come out of pocket with, right? And so, what's maintenance been? So our largest maintenance expense was $1,500 for one of our breakers, for the breaker for our home. And so it actually came to about $2,000 because we had it fixed once, but we kind of went the I guess the cheap route and had like a part of it fixed. The second time the breaker popped again and broke again, we had them come out and do a little bit more, put a surge protector on it, and that cost about $1,500. So that's altogether about $2,000 to get that breaker fixed. Other large expenses. Once again, this is a new construction home. We purchased 2 lawnmowers. Had one gas lawnmower. It lasted about a year and a half. It crapped out for whatever reason, so we ended up purchasing an electric lawnmower, which has been great. As long as you don't let your grass get too high, it's all good. Electric parts, really no mechanical issues. So like that mower a lot. The reason I decided to get a mower, we did have somebody we were paying to cut our grass, but it was like $40 for them to cut it every 2 weeks. And I don't know, I just like cutting the grass every week. It's kind of relaxing. I listen to podcasts while I'm cutting the grass. It's all good. So I just cut it every week. And if you were to do it weekly, it'd be like a little bit under $100 a week. And they cut, I think like 8 months of the year we get the grass cut because it doesn't grow during the winter. And so that's like $800 a year we're saving just by me spending 20 minutes to cut my own grass. And so and then so we have an HOA. I like HOAs just because, in my opinion, it just keeps things in order in the neighborhood. We don't use all the perks. Some folks don't like HOAs. Even folks that live in the neighborhood who knew there was a HOA, whine about the HOA. So here's the thing: just like taxes, like your HOA is not going to cover every single thing that you like. Like taxes aren't going to go to every single thing you like. The HOA fees aren't going to go to every single thing you like. Some are going to go to family events. Some are going to go to single events. Some are going to go to outdoor events. Some are going to go to things that happen during the workday that are a benefit to folks that work at home. It's just your HOA are not going to go to 100% towards everything you like. Folks want to whine about, let's say there are 1,000 homes in the neighborhood. Folks want to whine about because the maintenance crew isn't doing the bushes to their exact specifications. Like that's not going to happen. And so I like HOAs. Like I said, it prevents there being a pink house next door to me, and so it's all good for me. And so like I said, those expenses were really the only, I guess, cons during the home buying process. Outside of that, it's been all thumbs up for my my lovely wife and I. And so yeah, if you got any feedback, let me know. But that is the end of the episode. And by land, rumor has it they're not making any more of it. All right.